Hi folks, this is a demonstration of how to use SPSS, specifically how to use SPSS to do the first problem set. I'm doing this at home, so I'm going to access SPSS through the cloud. I have a bookmark set up for it, and I've already installed it, so I'm going to skip to log on. And I have my computer set to automatically fill in my username and my password, so there we go, log on. Because I've already been on the cloud this morning, it went exceptionally fast, but usually it takes up to, I don't know, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, even a minute for the cloud to come through. Okay. Double click on SPSS. I guess you could have single clicked. And click on SPSS 21. And this will take a moment to load. Let's see what's going on down here. I'm working on a PC. It is somewhat mysterious to me how the cloud works. Okay. I have to click on permit use for it to be able to do its thing. And here I can see that it is in fact launching SPSS. Now just before we get started, a word about the cloud. It's a little clunky to set up, it can be a little slow, but it can also be a lifesaver if you want to do your homework at home, your SPSS work at home, rather than coming all the way over to campus and then going all the way back to work or home, wherever you were. Okay, every time that SPSS launches, it will ask you what kind of encoding you want to use. We'll just use Unicode. We are going to open an existing data source. I guess I have to click OK. I have stored the Excel spreadsheet that we're using on my cloud account. Those are some other files that I have, and I'm going to switch over to Excel so that it will actually direct me to the file that I want. This is the file, and I'll click on Open and OK. For whatever reason, SPSS often reads in more columns than you actually have. I'm going to delete them just to not cause confusion. They do absolutely no harm. So I'm clicking up here at the header of the first variable, the first empty variable. I'm hitting the Shift key to highlight all four of them. And now I'm hitting delete to get rid of them. Good. I'll expand the screen. This is the data set. Now this looks, you might notice this looks an awful lot like Excel. And in fact the only difference that you'll see is that SPSS compressed the name of liquefied petroleum gas. In Excel, you had spaces in between those three words, but SPSS does not tolerate spaces in the variable name, so it automatically compressed them. You have two views in SPSS, well really three. This is the data view that again looks like Excel, and the variable view, and here we have all of the characteristics of the variables in the data set. SPSS, when importing from Excel, will make some good guesses about what's what, and in this case it has made the right guesses. Just a couple of these columns that I'll point out to you. The type, we have string and numeric. String means that it is a text variable. State names are in text, and liquefied petroleum gas is in text. Over here in the column for measure, we learned in class, and you read in the textbook, that there are three levels of measurement: nominal, ordinal, and interval. SPSS is on board with the nominal and the ordinal. Unfortunately, instead of using interval, it uses scale. Just bear this in mind. You may have to do some adjustments over here when importing variables. if your analysis is not going right. In this particular case, everything worked out just fine, so you don't have to make any adjustments. Whoops. Okay. Now, to run your analysis, you can either be in variable view or data view. We're going to find the commands up on this line, and keep your eye here. We're going to go from variable view to data view. You have the exact same set of options up here, so wherever you happen to be, you can run the analysis. The first thing we're going to do is to recode liquefied petroleum gas to create a dummy variable. Remember that we can't do any analysis on words. We have to have zeros and ones. Here's where it gets a little tricky, a little unfamiliar. Click on Transform, Recode into different variables. First thing we'll do is to select the input variable, the variable that's the basis of the new variable. I'll just double click on that. Come over here and create a name for the new variable. In the directions for the first problem set, I told you to use your initials underscore DMY. So I will use my initials, NYA underscore DMY. To execute this, you have to select Change. Now we'll put in the coding scheme. Old value is the value in the original variable in liquefied petroleum gas. When liquefied petroleum gas is valued as no, I want the new variable to be valued as 0. And I will click Add. When liquefied petroleum gas is valued as yes, I want the new variable to be valued as 1. And we will click Add and continue. This all looks right to me, so I will click OK to make it happen. And here's just the language that SPSS uses to make that happen. Okay. Here in the data set, you can see that it has actually taken place. SPSS has created a new line in the variable view to describe the variable. Now here, for whatever reason, it has read the zeros and ones as nominal. Perhaps this is because the base variable was nominal. So we're just going to come over here and change that so that it will recognize 0 and 1 as numbers. Okay. The next thing that I want you to do is just to run a quick frequency table. You will use the output to show me that you've been able to successfully execute these commands. To do the frequency table, Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Frequencies. I will double click on the dummy variable and select OK. So now this output window, the same place where we see the coding, you get the output. And what I'd like you to do is to copy and paste this second table into a Word document or whatever word processor you're using as part of your submission. Right-click here, copy, then go over to your Word document and paste. Clearly mark it as Part 1, and you're done with Part 1. Now let's move on to Part 2. In Part 2, you create a dummy variable from gasoline, which is an interval variable. And I include a cut point there of 20. Now instead of walking through that, I'm going to use a different variable, and you can mimic the steps in order to do your first assignment. I'm going to use gasohol. Here again, we go to Transform, Recode into different variables. Now because it has all of the stuff that I entered before, I'll click on Reset just to wipe it out. Double click on gasohol. and I will create a new name here, new gasohol, and change. You'll notice that I always put variable names in all caps, just to help you pick them out. You certainly don't have to. This is just one way that I want to signal to you what's going on. Old and new values. Similar routine, but we have to use a different part of this dialog box. We can't use value because gasohol has all kinds of different values, and it would be actually SPSS can't deal with multiple commands into a single category. Don't worry about that. Instead, I'm going to use range lowest through value. Lowest is the smallest value that SPSS reads for the base variable. Through value is the value that I'm about to type in. I'm going to use a cut point of 17. So for every observation that we have a value up through 17, I want to tell it to value the new variable at 0 and add. Then for the rest of them, range value through highest. Value is the value that I'm about to type in here through the highest value that SPSS reads for the base variable. So just to make sure we don't have any duplication, I will use 17.1, and here I will value it at 1 and add. All of this looks good. Continue and OK. Here in the output table we see the commands that executed. Here in the data set, here is the new variable that I just created, new gasohol. Over here in variable view is the name of the new variable that I created. We will once again switch that to scale. Not quite sure why SPSS wanted to call it nominal, but we'll just switch it to scale to make sure that it's right. We will create a frequency table. Analyze, descriptive statistics, frequencies. Hit reset to get out all of the information that I entered before. Double click on the name of the new dummy variable and click on OK. Here we have an additional frequency table. This will be your answer to part 2. We'll actually talk about frequency tables in week 3, but just because we're here, I'll point out to you the frequency is the number of times that each value occurs. 12 observations have a value of 0, 39 observations have a value of 1. It also generates for you percentage in each value and cumulative percentages. Now in your problem set you also have part 3, just a couple of additional questions that you have to answer. You don't use SPSS, you will have to type those into your Word document. When you're all done, upload the Word document to Blackboard, and if you have any trouble finding where to submit, contact Brian or me. I will be demonstrating this in class, or maybe by the time you viewed this I've already demonstrated in class how to submit. That's it for SPSS. So all I have to do is hit X. I don't want to save the output. Closing the last data editor window will exit SPSS statistics. Do you want to proceed? Yes, I do. Save changes to the following data set. I am going to save it. So now I have to type in the name of the table. Sure would have been convenient if it had come up automatically. So here, just for neatness, I'll take off the XLS. You're actually welcome to name it anything you want. This is just for you to keep it as you wish. Very good. Save. And we're done. Log off. And that's it. Just to be clear, this cloud part you don't have to do if you do SPSS in one of the labs. It's much more straightforward. You just launch SPSS directly. All right, see you in class next week.